Hi guys, I'm Jolly, a Jolly book fanatic. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to do a very late mid-year book freakout tag. I know everyone has done this tag and nobody has tagged me, but I really want to do this because I want to talk to you about all of these topics. I think it's so interesting. I haven't read as much as I used to in the past half year. Like, I read just over 40 books, but I still want to talk to you about all of them. So let's start. The first question is the best book I've read so far in 2017, and it's a book I haven't talked about since I actually read it, and that is Silver Stars by Michael Grant. This is the second book in the Soldier Girl trilogy, and this is a trilogy that is set during World War II, which follows three female protagonists who fulfill a role within the military. One of them is on the front lines, the other one is in intelligence, so she's a spy, and the third one is a medic in the military. And I absolutely love this series. I thought the second book was phenomenal, and I thought the first book was fantastic as well. I am not a huge World War II reader. Like, I really don't like to read about wars, so if you aren't really into reading about wars and you still want some historical fiction, I would really recommend this series. There are only 2 books out up until now, and I don't know when the third book is set to be released, but I am so excited for it because I absolutely fell in love with this series, and it once again confirms for me how much I actually like historical fiction. The second question is best sequel I've read so far in 2017, and that is hands down the second book in the Wolf by Wolf duology, Blood for Blood by Graudin. I loved the first book, Wolf by Wolf, in this duology, and the second book made this one of my all-time favorite series. It follows an alternate history retelling of also World War II, wherein Hitler has won the war, and the main character is a skin shifter. She can change into anyone she wants, and she participates as another girl in this intercontinental motorcycle race, and if she wins this race, she gets to meet Hitler and she can kill him because she's part of the rebellion and she obviously doesn't want Hitler to live. And I love this. I love the fantasy element to it, like obviously the skin shifting. It read like a contemporary. It was so easy to get through. If you are intimidated by historical fiction, I wouldn't start with the Soldier Girl series or the Frontline series. I would start with Wolf by Wolf because it reads so easy. I also have a series review up for the Wolf by Wolf duology, which I will link down below if you are interested in that. The question is new release I haven't read yet but want to. This is a book by one of my favorite authors ever, and there's the Inexplicable Logic of My Life by Benjamin Alire Sáenz. I loved his Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. I loved Last Night I Sang to the Monster. I love Samia and Juliana in Hollywood. I love all these books I've read so far, and I haven't read his newest release, which has been praised so much, and I honestly cannot wait to delve into that world and read about another Mexican-American main character and another LGBT element, because I feel like Benjamin Alire Sáenz put a lot of himself in his books, and I love his poetic writing style. It's very simplistic, but also has such a flowery undertone in it, which makes everything he writes incredibly beautiful. Most anticipated release for the second half of 2017. Warcross by Marie Lu. This is Marie Lu's newest book and I'm so excited. I loved her Young Elites trilogy. Again, one of my favorite series of all time, and it has really put her on the map for me. And I picked up her Legends trilogy. I've only read the first book and I wasn't a big fan of that, but it might be because I read it in Dutch. So I am not really interested in that, but I am interested in reading basically anything she comes out with from now on. And Warcross sounds incredibly amazing. It follows this bounty hunter and this online game. It has a Ready Player One kind of premise, and I absolutely love online games, and I haven't read a book about an online game before. I haven't even read Ready Player One. It sounds really good to me, and the whole bounty hunter premise makes it seem like the main character is going to be an incredibly badass female protagonist, which I am all in for. Biggest disappointment so far, and that is honestly It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I won't say Colleen Hoover is necessarily a favorite author, but one of my favorite books ever is by her, which is Maybe Someday, and I also really liked Her Ugly Love, but there were also books I really didn't like Slammed and Confess and then obviously this one. I think this is Colleen Hoover's newest release, and it follows a woman who enters into an abusive relationship with a man, and honestly, I really didn't like it. I get that it was supposed to be about an abusive relationship, but I had such a hard time reading this. I really didn't enjoy my time because the main character kept justifying the love interest actions to herself, and obviously that is an abusive relationship, but it just didn't click with me, and I expected so much from this. I expected to really connect to this, and that is not what I got from it, and that is why this one disappointed me so much. Then my biggest surprise so far this year is Anne of Green Gables, which is the first book in the series of the same name by Ellen Montgomery. This is the classic I read for the Ostentatious Book Club, which Zoe of Read by Zoe is running, and otherwise, except for this book club, I would have never picked up this book, and I'm so glad I did, because this follows Anne, who is very young at the start of the book, and her adoptive parents, well, they're technically older siblings, like a brother and a sister who wanted to adopt a boy but instead got Anne, and they grew fond of her and decided to keep her, and every chapter follows a new adventure in Anne's life, and I love seeing her grow up. I don't think I'm going to read all of the other books in this series because there are a lot, but I really grew fond of Anne myself and really loved her bubbly and curious personality. She had such a rich imagination, and she's like no other main character I've ever read about. And this is my biggest surprise because I did not expect to like this book at all. Favorite new author, and I'm going to skip this one because I looked through the books I've read the past half year, and honestly there is not one author I haven't read before, wasn't already a favorite author, or I read for the first time and I liked so much that I would call them a new favorite author, so nope. No new favorites. Newest fictional crush, and I had a hard time with this because I honestly wouldn't call anyone really my favorite crush, but I have to refer back to Anne of Green Gables, specifically Gilbert, who is kind of Anne's love interest, but not really yet in this book, but I know he's going to be a love interest in the upcoming books, because I read some reviews and it was very obvious he had a huge crush on Anne, and I loved how sweet he was to her. But at the beginning of the book, they kind of had a falling out because he said something about Anne's red hair, and Anne really didn't like it and decided to ignore him for the rest of the year and basically the upcoming years. And eventually she forgave him. But no real love was blossoming between them yet, but I know it is going to come. It is very obvious, and I really liked how sweet he was to her. He performed some kind acts throughout this book, and I really liked him for it. I really liked how he kept trying with Anne, even though she was ignoring him. Like, he was just teasing her because he liked her. He was a little boy back then, and he didn't say something that was that bad, and just has a very specific personality. And I really liked how she eventually saw that Gilbert was a good person and was worth talking to. Newest favorite character, I chose Ramona from Ramona Blue by Julie Murphy. I really like Ramona because she is so outspoken, so outgoing. She has bright blue hair. She is living with her sister and her father in a trailer park. Her sister is pregnant. She has to take care of her family. She works a lot. And she has a really good relationship with her sister. She tries to support her as much as possible. She also has a relationship with a girl at the beginning of the book. Ramona is bisexual, and then she falls in love with her childhood friend who is a boy. And I really like how complex her personality was, how this book really shows how sexuality can be fluid, and just Ramona's personality. I really like Ramona because of her relationship with her sister. You could really see her personality shining through that. Just, I think specifically her bright blue hair is really what connects me to her, because I didn't have bright blue hair, but I had bright red hair, and I absolutely love that. And I love how you can really show your personality through your hair color. I've had my answer already ready for this, but since I've planned this, I have read another book that really made me cry, but I do want to mention the first one I picked, which is not really a book, but it's a short story from an anthology, and that's the story Inertia by Veronica Roth from the Summer Days and Summer Nights anthology that is edited by Stephanie Perkins. I loved this story. It follows a girl and a boy, and this boy is actually dying, and this girl goes to his hospital room and gets to say goodbye to him. It's kind of a science fiction story, and to say goodbye to him, she can go into his memories, I believe, into his brain and say goodbye to him through that way, and it really made me cry. I really connected to it, and I've read some reviews and a lot of other people rated it very highly. It is an amazing short story. I've read Divergent by Veronica Roth, but wasn't a huge fan of it and haven't read anything else by her, but it's short. But this short story was top notch. And the other book I want to mention is something I read in the past month, so it isn't something I have mentioned yet, and that is A Court of Wings and Ruin, which is the third book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas. I didn't like this book as much as I liked A Court of Mist and Fury, but because this very first half of this was so slow, and this is a very thick book, much thicker than the first and the second book, until the second half rolled around and I was just sobbing and sobbing, and I honestly could not stop crying about this book and what was happening to all of my dear characters, and I cannot wait for the spin-off novels in this series, because every single book in this series just made me cry and made me love the characters even more. A book that made you happy, By Your Side by Kasie West. This is one of Kasie West's newest releases. It's about a girl who gets stuck in a library with her boy for the weekend, and it was very dramatic, which I didn't like about it, but it made me very happy because of the library aspect and her getting to know a boy she's never talked to before, and just their relationship and them getting to know each other. Favorite book to movie adaptation you've seen this year? Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. I had some problems with the novel, but the movie was so true to the book and it expanded upon it and made it so much more emotional. Like, I cried at the novel, don't get me wrong, but the film made me just bawl my eyes out. I absolutely loved it, and I think it's a movie worth watching, honestly, if you haven't yet. If you don't know what Me Before You is about, it's about a man in a wheelchair and a woman who comes as a caretaker to take care of him, but she doesn't have any experience as a caretaker, and it really shows, but it's also very funny, and they really build a relationship, and it's so cute, but also ultimately very heartbreaking. Favorite video you filmed this year? I'm going to say my December vlog, which I uploaded in January, and that is a while ago, but I honestly love how that turned out. I will link it down below if you haven't seen it yet, which you probably haven't, but I really like the way that vlog turned out. Most beautiful book you bought so far this year? I'm very happy with this purchase, and that's Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. This is illustrated by Ella Bailey, and it is a beautiful cover, but also it has these cute illustrations of the four Maas sisters, what the book is about. It's about these four sisters, and I love this illustration. It also has some very cute chapter headers like this one. Every chapter has a different sort of header, and I love what Ella Bailey did with this. And I really like this book as well. I finished it this past month and I thought it was so cute. Reminded me very much of Anne of Green Gables, wherein each chapter is a different adventure that these four sisters experience, and it's very much a morality lesson, but I quite liked it. I didn't like it as much as Anne of Green Gables. I only rated it like 3.5 stars, but it still was worth a read. And the last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? I have some review copies that I need to read, like The Gravekeepers by Elizabeth Byrne, which I think takes place at a cemetery and two people leave letters for each other or something like that, and they get to meet each other. Like, the setting really intrigued me, so I definitely want to read that one. I have an e-arc of that. I also have an e-arc of They Both Die at the End by Silvera. I recently, like this past month, read History Is All You Left Me, which is the first book I read by him. Really liked it. Definitely want to try his newest book because it sounds super interesting. It's about two boys who know they're going to die on the same day and decide to spend their last day together. And the last book I need to read is a short story collection about love triangles by Natalie C. Parker, which is called Three Sides of a Heart. And I'm not a huge fan of love triangles, but I definitely want to give this one a try. Again, e-arc of it. So those were some books I definitely am going to be reading during the rest of the year. So this was the mid-year book freakout tag. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know down below some of your answers to these questions, or if you've read any of the books I mentioned. Do you agree or disagree with any of my opinions? I would love to know. Thanks for watching. Goodbye!